Drat. My Cena wasn't recording.
You know, this has been a really nice paced, pretty laid back. I mean, it's other than the long drive to get to Maine, but you know, I'm complaining because I was in a truck. It certainly saved our posteriors to enjoy this part of the trip. Bay of Fundy was really incredible. Other than the fact they've just put fresh tar down on the road, that was kind of a little disconcerting when you're on two wheels. But and the campsite last night was not last night, but the night before last, right there on the bay. It was absolutely epic. The sunset. It's been great so far. I mean, just if you're thinking about doing this, come along for the ride. This has been great.
I see trees of green where your tent used to be.
I see trees of green, red roses too.
You got to do it in his voice.
I see green from and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. That's campsite impressions. My impression of this one was a very good one.
That was an open-ended question.
Well, I ended it. I closed that opening.
Closed the opening?
It was a closed-ended answer.
Apparently, he's just not going to give me any good content today.
That was good content. I sang.
But if you're passionate about what you're saying, you're not talking to them. You're just talking. You're just sharing.
You learn that. You learn that over time.
Always be selling. Always be invoicing. It's worked for almost 30 years.
That's awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Boise, Ohio. We're looking for the aircraft to push back in the chairs. Right for the aircraft to push back in the chairs.
I was driving down the road the other day and we were talking to some friends and talking about how ADD riding. And, you know, isn't it amazing how when you're just driving down the road, look over at the car beside you, sure enough, there they are, texting. And it just kind of makes you give pause to, you know, there's a lot of people out there that really truly aren't paying attention. I'm sure we're all guilty of it in some way, shape, or form. Shoot, back in our day, how about the kicking stereos that we used to have? Well, now we got a whole new set of distractions. But there may come a day when you may need some help. Our friend Rick Stewart, check into his website. It's scmotolawyer.com. My suggestion would be to take a screenshot of it. If something happens, you got it right there in your photos. You know who to go contact. Give Rick a call if you ever need some help. So Frank, you're no saint when it comes to snoring.
But I'm like a minor snorer. You, however, are the snorer that when he's snoring, when Chris is snoring, I really can't hear it because I hear your snoring. We're the little noise in the distance in the woods, and you're the bear in camp.
So what you're saying is I'm the winner in this category?
Yeah, way to look at
Our
it.
absolute king of snoring.
Yes, I take my victories where I can.
We're going to get you a participation trophy.
I get a participation trophy. Yay!
You do not get called up to the front of the class to do something because you're good at it.
So I have an option.
Mm-hmm.
I could work out, drop the LBs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, you're in Canada. The kgs.
The kgs. but I've heard somewhere that the average person who works out all the time only lives 3 to 5 years longer than other people. But if given the fact that most people spend the last 3 to 5 years in a nursing home,
Now, what is it that causes, you know, those super fit long distance runners to keel over with a heart attack?
COVID shot.
go.
So what is it we're about to experience here?
So, Alexander Graham Bell was born in Edinburgh, Scotland. He became a teacher of the deaf, just like his father was. His father used a method called visible speech to teach his students. So visible speech is a pictogram alphabet that shows how to properly pronounce different sounds. Alexander also became a teacher. He moved to Canada following the death of his brothers, then moved to
Tuberculosis, right?
Boston. Yeah, so his brothers died from tuberculosis. He and his parents moved to Brantford, Ontario. Alexander then moved to Boston to begin teaching, which is where he met his wife, Mabel.
Now we wanted to know what was the age difference?
So that's a little bit of a touchy topic. There was a 10-year age difference between them.
Okay.
So Alexander was initially her teacher. When he realized that he had feelings for her, he stopped teaching her. And they waited until Mabel was 18 to get married. He was very close with her parents as well, with her father especially. He was a patent lawyer, so he helped Alexander with his work in the telephone. Alexander and Mabel had 2 daughters. They moved to Washington, D.C., but Alexander didn't really like living there so much. He thought that it was really hot and really humid and also extremely busy. He was really famous, of course, as he invented the telephone.
Right.
And he liked to have time to himself and also time to spend with his family. He heard about Baddeck and he decided to move here. He had read a travel book that was called Baddeck and That Sort of Thing, and it talked about a quaint little village in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, where every day feels like a Sunday afternoon, which is so true. So Alexander thought that sounded perfect, and he ended up moving here. So he intended to just visit on vacation, but he fell in love with Cape Breton and with Baddeck. It reminded him of his childhood growing up in Scotland, with the Scottish language and culture and the scenery as well. And so they ended up purchasing over 450 acres of land.
Holy moly.
And they built their estate. They called it Benvrea, which means beautiful mountain in Scottish Gaelic. On the estate, they built a 37-room, 11-fireplace mansion called Benvrea Hall. And it was built in the 1890s, and it cost them about $22,000 to build that house. While he was here in Baddeck, he did several different things, a lot of lesser known things that people don't really know about, like the Silver Dart airplane, which was the first airplane to ever fly in Canada in February of 1909.
You have that on display in the back.
Yeah, so we've got the full-scale replica that was built in 2009 for the centennial, and then we also have the hydrofoil boat replicas. So we have the original hull and the full-scale replica of the HD4, which was his 4th model of hydrofoil boat, and that set a world marine speed record in 1919.
This is the one that was left on the beach when they were done developing it and just abandoned it.
Wow.
Thankfully, much of it's remaining.
Alexander passed away here in Baddeck at the age of 75 in 1922 after suffering from complications due to type 2 diabetes. Mabel, although she was 10 years younger as we discussed, she died just a few months after at the age of 65 after suffering from a battle with pancreatic cancer. The Bells are buried on top of their mountain here in Baddeck, their beautiful mountain. And the entire estate, as well as the main house that I talked about earlier, that is all still owned by their family. So their descendants own that. It's their great-grandchildren currently that own the estate.
We're excited to finally get to see this place.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. After the invention of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell didn't want people to think that he was just going to sit on his laurels. The government of France actually awarded him the Volta Prize, which came with a $10,000 award. And he used that money to found the Volta Laboratory. The Volta Laboratory is basically a think tank of its day, creating new technology and new ideas, basically to help civilization. It was brilliant.
So most people think of Alexander Graham Bell as the inventor of the telephone. He was responsible for way more inventions than just the telephone. One being the hydrofoil, for which he thought was a very important maritime advancement.
When I was a kid and most of my adult life growing up in high school, both of my parents were teachers. And one of the things that we did as a family was play with linguistics and puns and jokes and language. And so one of my favorite movies as a kid was a movie called My Fair Lady. It's a musical, don't laugh at me, I'm a dude, I know it, but it's based on a play called Pygmalion. And the movie had Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison in it. And in that movie, Rex was trying to teach Audrey how to speak in a more highbrow English accent. And he had this gizmo that would have a flame and a mirror, and she would speak into it so that when her consonants came out, they could see the puff of the flame and the shape of the flame. Little did I know that this was invented by Alexander Graham Bell, which means now Alexander Graham Bell is my new hero. She would say, in Artford, Errington, and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly ever happen, which is exactly opposite of what you're supposed to do, and you could see the flame flicker and not flicker in the wrong spots. And it's absolutely fascinating, and I am blown away by this museum.
I was incredibly surprised by our trip here. I had absolutely no idea, and I absolutely feel let down by my education. We walk in, and there's a hydroplane. There's an airplane, which is the first plane flown by a British subject. All I knew about was a little bit of work with the hearing impaired, and obviously the telephone that changed human communication. Part of the best thing traveling is when you find something you didn't know you were looking for. And this was a great place to stop in and learn a breadth of knowledge I simply didn't have. So thanks for finding it, Chris. I appreciate it.
You know what was really cool? The Alexander Graham Bell Museum reminded me of when I was growing up in the Congo. The way that we communicated with family members. You know, we're way out there in Africa, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And early on, the way that you communicated was you wrote a letter.
Right.
And it went by ship.
Yep.
So 6 months later, we would get a response from our relative or a friend or whatever. And that's how we communicated. And then later on, we got access to a telephone. But it was so expensive to call from Africa to the United States that we would write a letter, call us on New Year's Day at this time, at this number.
Yeah.
And then we would be at this one phone that all the missionaries used on that day, at that time, and our relative would call us.
Little did he know how much real impact he was going to have
I know.
hundreds of years later.
Crazy. Dude was awesome.
Indeed.
Hope you've enjoyed the episode so far. If you hadn't hit the like and subscribe button, please do. We would certainly appreciate it. Guys, that was an amazing stop.
Like that one? Very much.
And I love how they have the museum kind of tucked into the hill where it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, who would have thought in that building when you first walked up to it that there would be a full-size airplane and hydrofoil in there?
Right.
And the original, out of wood.
Yeah, that they found left on the beach.
Pretty amazing. Absolutely an amazing experience.
It was kind of cool what they said about after the invention of the telegraph, that he kind of was like, okay, on to the next thing. He didn't dwell on the monetary gains of any particular invention.
No, I think in his heart he's an inventor and not a entrepreneur.
Correct.
Yep. Well, what's next on the agenda, Mr. Sherpa?
Well, we're going to head up to St. Anne's, another little cute coastal town, and visit the College of Gaelic festivity stuffies.
Oh, nice.
Something college, Gaelic college.
Bagpipe.
Yeah, so we're just hoping to maybe get a quick glance of some bagpipers, or as Steve would like to see, some of the full chuckers. Maybe a kilt or two. We shall see.
We shall see. Well, it's 69 degrees and a high of 75 today, and it's going to be an awesome day.
Already is so far.
Stay tuned. We'll see what's coming next.
And change the stop sign to go.
And cut.
amazing.
Thank you.
What's the secret behind all this?
Blow into it and squeeze it a lot.
Is that right?
Pretty much.
So I can tell you're not playing while you're breathing. You blow into it, create the air, and then push it out? Well, that's what makes the...
Yeah. Essentially, we just fill the bag full air.
Uh-huh.
We keep it around 90% full all the time. And we put a little bit of pressure with our arm, squeezing it. And keeping it at full pressure will make the pipe sound, and it will make the chanter sound.
Wow.
So we're constantly just keeping it topped up while squeezing it.
Okay.
That's essentially how they work.
That's amazing. And is this like, did you make this, or is this...
No, this one came from Scotland. Pipe makers and craftsmen are a specific trade and developed art, essentially. There's a couple people in Canada, but no one has
quite the clout.
Roots. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. These are Dunbar pipes.
Pipes, okay.
They come from a long line of Hendersons, a different family in Scotland that made them since 1905 or something.
And are you related somehow, or how does this...
No, I'm not actually. I'm like the first piper in my family, as far as I can tell. So,
what made you want to come to the Gaelic College?
I was offered a job for my pipe major. He knew the director running the college, and he said they're looking for a duty piper. So I took the job up, came up to Cape Breton for the first time to fill in for them.
That's amazing. Pretty cool experience.
Oh yeah, it's been great so far.
Lots of partying.
Oh yeah. Leaves every night, essentially.
How long have you been playing?
I've been playing for 9 years in September.
Wow. Well, it shows, man. You have a polished, that's impressive. I'll tell you, a good friend of mine, we're from South Carolina in the U.S., and a good friend of mine is a law enforcement officer and a bagpiper. He plays for the law enforcement regiment, or whatever they call their group down there of bagpipers. And he found out I was coming to Nova Scotia. He said, you got to come to the Gaelic College and listen to the guys play. So thank you very much, man.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was a pleasure.
My pleasure. It's all mine.
Well, here's a nice turn for you, Chris.
Oh, that's beauty.
These little toes make some nice little twisties.
Yep.
So, Chris.
Yeah, man.
You've been on this new bike now for a while.
Oh, yeah.
How does it feel?
Oh, my gosh.
To what you had before?
Not dissing Trinity. She was absolutely phenomenal. But this bike is another level. I mean, it is a dream. Aprilia Touareg 660. Lots of power. The suspension is unbelievable. And, that's the biggest thing I always fought with that CB500X. I traded out the suspension for the rally raid stuff, and that made a big improvement, but it still just didn't have enough travel. And this suspension is just incredible. It's well planted on the highway. I can carve up the twisties really, really well. It's amazingly balanced for that. It's got a low center of gravity, and yet it feels equally as home off-road. So I'm digging it.
How do you tell the difference between the 500 and 600 size easily?
Yeah, quite a bit, especially because that Honda was only like 40-some horsepower, and this is 80. So, yeah, huge difference in horsepower, so it's pretty obvious.
Awesome.
I've also got the quick shifter on this thing, which makes it a dream. It's just phenomenal to be able to switch gears without having to use the clutch if you don't want to. Which, you might think is really cool for hammering it down at a stoplight, but the ideal part is when you're off-road, you don't have to take your fingers off the grips. You reach a hill and you got to dodge a rock or something like that, you can just jam the gear up or down without having to use your clutch.
Interesting. So what you're saying is you're aspiring to a DCT of the African Twin Bit.
Well, this gives me the ability to use it and, operate like I really want to, but don't have to have it if I don't need it. People talk about the biggest negative of this bike being the heat that comes out of the catalytic converter in the front right corner. I feel it, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not that big a deal.
But the fit and finish of everything, the electronics package on this thing is a dream. Having the different modes, being able to switch easily, having cruise control, having heated grips. There are just a lot of pluses.
I know one other little downside.
What's that?
Because you have the more horsepower, you get up to high speeds real quick and often.
That's probably because I'm still having the honeymoon phase, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a great bike. I'm enjoying it.
Cool.
Ooh, church.
And cut.
This is 1,092 miles and 19 hours and change from my door. So we're going to call this the beginning of the adventure. And this previous time was just the commute.
And we're passing you going, wow, those thighs.
And how you pack.
Yeah.
Oh, the packing for us is extraordinarily time consuming.
And your pack is even smaller than ours. So how do you do that?
I have been solo paddleboard portaging, I guess. So when you're you just have no choice, because otherwise when you portage you have to carry the paddleboard
Your
and
own
everything
stuff.
with you. So it's just learning to be concise with
So are you moteling or camping?
a bit of both. I
Yeah,
guess
us
mostly
as well.
camping now, but
Us as well.
yeah, the beginning.
Credit card camping.
Camping, yeah. I mean the place I said I was camping,
Kristen,
but there was a sauna, so
Yeah.
you know.
We're camping too, but what brand of tent are you using?
So normally I have a hammock tent.
Okay.
It's normally my
Oh.
go-to. But this trip, because of the beaches, I didn't want to risk
Yeah,
it.
not
so
having a tree.
Yeah, so I have an MSR Elixir right
Okay.
now,
Oh,
which
okay.
is it's okay. I prefer the
No, I've heard of
hammocks,
that,
but-
yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit
Uh,
better.
I like a hammock as well.
You know, he used to use the hammock tent a lot
Uh-huh.
until that one day when we were camping and we heard a bear outside our tent.
Yeah, literally, there was a bear scuffling right next to me.
Oh, I believe it. Caesar on yours. Caesar
I
on
will
yours.
say, you're a more
Thank you.
aggressive
Thank you.
rider than your videos show. Or is that the Touareg?
No, that's it.
No, that's
That's
it.
it?
Yeah, he leaves it when we got into the mountains in on
So-
the Trans-America Trail. He
Question: would you keep up with him, or do you like our pace?
Oh, I can do either. I don't generally ride fast on adventure bikes, but I have a sport bike. So when Chris decided to go for a spirited ride yesterday, I followed.
Downhill is fun.
Great,
I'm
right?
looking at 50, I think, at some point.
Wow!
Yeah, I know.
Moving out.
I was like, God.
Please don't have a flat tire. Please don't have a flat tire.
exactly.
Look right at the camera and say your name and say, I'm a cyclist.
Hi, I'm Clarice,
Good morning.
and I'm a cyclist. Kind of.
We met a guy yesterday at the very beginning at the bottom of Cape Breton, and he said you could ride the whole loop in a day. It would be a long day, 10 hours.
It looks like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. So we're just going up to the top and camping, but you should have no problem getting there in a day.
Well, we're trying to get back down,
Yeah.
doing in.
Well, it's only like an hour to the top.
The whiskey distillery, we're trying to get down there to
Okay.
spend the night there.
Yeah. I don't know where that is, but you should be able to go the whole island today.
All right, cool.
It'll be about an hour to get to the very top, and then, I don't know, 3 hours to get home.
Oh, yeah. We'll be at the top of Smoky in about 10 minutes.
Oh, I meant at the top as in geographically the lighthouse at the very end, at the very tip. Yeah. My GPS says actually 47 minutes to get to that. How long you been doing this?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm down from Glacier Bay, actually, Myra.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple hours away from here.
Okay.
I said I'll try it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Get to talk to everybody, eh?
Right.
And I do. I stop and talk to them.
Uh-huh. So,
Your stool will sit on. No, they won't let you sit down in case you got to get in the way.
oh. And they,
My she's coming around and turning at me. I'll get in the way. I can get up.
right.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got yourself a little shade shield.
Yeah. That's good to have.
That's cool.
Comes running down over the hill at me.
You have some Irish in you?
Yeah, probably.
So are you guys what we call pace cars?
Yeah, I'll set the pace.
You'll set the pace?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll grip it as hard as we can and try to hang in there.
Okay. Oh. There's the man. You're all right there. You're all right there.
Recording.
Day pass today?
Hi. Yes.
Day pass?
I guess.
All right. Are you going to pay as a group?
I can. How much is it?
It'll be $16.75 for the group.
$16.75 total?
Yeah.
That sounds quite reasonable.
Do you want your receipt?
Yes, please.
All right.
What are the amazing things we're about to see?
So, you're going to be going through the Cape Breton Highlands National Park. Most of the best views are going to be just to the side of the road as you go through.
Okay.
So you'll see them as you go. We do have a number of really nice hiking trails if that's something you're interested in too, though. Would you like a map of the park?
No.
For hiking trails, beaches, look-offs, all the attractions.
I won't have room for the map,
okay.
but I heard about a trail, but it's on the other side as we start coming back. It's Skyline Trail.
Yeah, that's our most popular trail right
Okay.
now.
There's a lighthouse at the very end, right?
Yeah, so the lighthouses, they're mostly sort of away from community, so it would take a hike to get to them.
Okay.
You will see there's one lighthouse museum in Dingwall, or if you turn in Neils Harbor and go through, there's a small lighthouse there as well.
Okay.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Put that around my neck. Precious cargo.
Stay here, Tina.
You got the pose.
No, that's good. Put your left knee down. Oh yes, that's it. That's perfect. There you go. Oh, there we go. All right, couple. 1, 2, 3. Let me change this. Oh, there we go. On and beautiful.
Thank you.
Here, check it out. Make sure you're good to go.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was fun. Hey, man.
Where are we?
Well, it said top of the island or something of that nature when we were there, but I don't think we've made it that far.
There's more to go.
That's good
But we're somewhere.
I'm looking forward to more to go. But these rocks and the ocean is stupendous. But on that sign it said, "Beware of unexpected waves." Here's
Well, if
one.
you expected them, you could avoid them.
Here's one. Let's go get some chowder.
Let's get chowder.
We have an emergency. I'm going to help out. We have a bit of an emergency. Yeah. There's a guy stuck in the bathroom with no toilet paper. You got any?
Yeah.
Steve, you don't know this, but it's going to be in the episode. He called me on the phone. I had to interrupt my ice cream gathering to come rescue a man on a bowl without a roll. Thanks.
We'll bring it back.
Beat your ass. I'm here on the cliffs of, I wanted to be profound, but anyway, I'm here photographing. I have my Nikon Z9. I have the 28-300, which is a fabulous travel range for me for shooting like the lighthouse in the background here. I would actually, in this particular case, break out my iPhone and put it in super wide mode, and I can get a much wider panoramic look. But for this, I can get the textures of the rocks down here. I can crop off the little small piece over here, get the other piece with the birds on it, and get the shoreline in the background, and it makes for a nice vertical shot. This lens, this camera setup with the autofocus, I can actually turn around and shoot the seagulls that are flying by. The autofocus on the Z9 is absolutely phenomenal for catching birds in flight. I think there's a lot of people out there that will agree with that. But anyway, Nikon Z9, handheld, great shot. And when they say steep cliff, they're not joking.
This one in. There you go. There you go. A little more. Perfect. When in Canada, go with the Canada Dry. No, really. You should have a lobster roll. That's what I was told.
What? Lobster?
Everybody said when you're in Nova Scotia, you should have a lobster roll. We rode all day. I'm not that hungry though because we stopped for ice cream at that lighthouse down the way. But let me give this a try. There's a lot of flavor in there. I like it. Welcome to Nova Scotia.